Manx Radio's Update with Beth Espy.
Well, Fastamai, good evening. It's not quite the calm before the storm. It's pretty rubbish out there already, but we are going to head live to the Met Office in a few minutes to find out the very latest before Storm Dara's arrival overnight. We'll also find out what plans are in place to brace the island for a battering, and if there's an event that's going ahead or one that's been postponed, then we are the people to tell so we can let everyone else know. Do get in touch, 166 177, or you can email studio@manxradio.com. Later, we'll have some advice for those venturing out in bad conditions from the police as well, and also with concern about the number of people being hospitalised with flu this year in the UK. What is the situation over here? All that to come on Update here on Manx Radio FM before 5:30. We'll start, though, with a news roundup from Lewis Fastamai.
Fastamai, and starting with the weather, government is reminding people to take care and drive to the conditions this weekend as the first of two weather warnings associated with Storm Dara comes into effect. Heavy rain is expected to last until midday tomorrow, while severe gales and storm force winds are due to arrive overnight, lasting throughout Saturday. The coast from Port St Mary to Kirkmichael is expected to receive the worst of the gales. The strength of the wind is likely to lead to fallen branches and possible downed trees, as well as some structural damage with flying debris and standing water on the roads. People are asked to secure property, bins and garden furniture. Meanwhile, the steam packet has just announced that tonight's sailings to Heysham have been cancelled. Manxman was due to sail at 7:45, returning in the early hours. Away from the weather, the Chief Minister has been in Scotland today, speaking to UK Prime Minister Sir Keir Starmer about renewable energy and Ørsted's plans for an offshore wind farm in Manx waters.
If we're going to make it work, we really do need a route to market, and having access into the UK grid will be critical for success.
Alfred Cannon has been attending the British-Irish Council Summit in Edinburgh. Flu cases on the Isle of Man haven't spiked like they have in England, but Public Health has a message.
Get a vaccine, because that is the simplest and most effective way to reduce your risk of influenza infection this season.
And police say it's disappointing they've had to reprimand so many people for drink driving so far this festive season. 6 people have been arrested on suspicion of driving under the influence since the start of the month. In the international news, more on Storm Dara as a severe red weather warning has been issued for parts of the UK, with gusts of up to 90 miles per hour expected there. It covers parts of Wales and southwest England. An alternative healer has been jailed for 10 years for manslaughter following the death of a woman at a slapping therapy workshop. Danielle Carr-Gomm stopped taking her diabetes medication after going along to one of Hongji Zhao's seminars. And it's understood the Ukrainian president will be among the guests at tomorrow's reopening of the Notre Dame Cathedral. Volodymyr Zelensky will be joined by Prince William and US President-elect Donald Trump. Those are the headlines. I'll be back with the news at 6 o'clock.
Thank you very much, Lewis. Well, now the weather brought to you by Manx Glass and Glazing, and we can tell you there's a lot of it. Let's go straight down to the Met Office and join Colin Garshaw down there this evening. Colin, first of all, what's it like in your office ahead of weather events like this?
Yeah, Beth, pretty busy. Yeah. It's been a busy all day today, yeah.
Yeah, and there's a lot of liaising, isn't there, with the emergency services as well?
Yeah, I'm able to do the kind of Teams meetings these days, so I kind of do it that way. I think it's an improvement on the past, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So tell us then, what is the latest situation as far as we know it?
Yeah, well, things are still relatively quiet. It's really tomorrow morning. We see strong of the winds between about 5 a.m. and 11 a.m. We're going to see gusts of wind, I think quite widely between 60 and 70 miles per hour. I think the southwest of Ireland will see a bit stronger, so around Port Erne and especially Port St Mary, probably the winds around 75 or 80 miles per hour for a time. That's not strong enough to cause some trouble. Certainly a lot of travel disruption. I think there'll be quite a few trees blown down as well tomorrow, especially in the morning, so I think it's best to stay inside if you can tomorrow, especially before midday. More rain, I think during the afternoon and evening the winds will very slowly decrease. It will be a bit better by tomorrow evening, but overall a very windy day.
And we're seeing, Colin, in the UK, there is that red weather warning. I think they're predicting, Lewis was saying, wind speeds of up to 90 miles an hour. How rare is a red weather warning?
I think we've only had a handful here in the last 10 years, maybe 2 or 3. So it's pretty rare. I mean, this one's probably close to being red, but it's not quite there, I don't think.
And how do you make that decision?
Well, it's based on basically the figures, the strength of the wind. I think if it was more like 85 or 90, it'd certainly be a red, but tomorrow's going to be, I think, around about 80 at its strongest. So if you put it in a historical context, we've had a lot of storms over the years that have been a lot stronger than tomorrow. So I don't think it's going to make in the top 10, even the top 20. So it's not really going to be historically all that significant, but it will be potentially still dangerous tomorrow, so do watch out.
And is it too soon to say how many more named storms there might be even before the end of the year?
The weather does a complete U-turn next week. We're going to be sitting in a area of high pressure by Tuesday, so I think it's pretty unlikely we'll see any more named storms this year, but you never know.
Oh, well, Colin, thank you so much, and thank you to the team down there doing sterling work at the moment. I can imagine there's lots of phone calls and lots of things to deal with, so thank you very much for that.
OK.
Speak to you soon, Colin. That is Colin Gartshaw down at the Met Office, just giving us the latest update on the conditions that we can expect for this weekend. So particularly if you're in the southwest of the island, it looks like really you should be thinking about staying home and wrapping your Christmas presents.
Manx Glass and Glazing can supply and install single, double and triple glazing. Call 674 573 or visit the showroom on the Snugborough Trading Estate.
Making life easier with Manx Mobility at the top of Summer Hill. Are you looking for a stair lift? Look no further with Which Magazine's #1 recommended stair lifts. Now provided by Manx Mobility. Access BDD stair lifts. Call us today on 200 680.
Carpetland, the carpet specialist with the island's best value carpets in stock. Often fitted within a week. Furnitureland for 3-piece suites, dining and living room furniture. And a selection of amazing beds. Carpetland and Furnitureland, West Street, Ramsey.
Simply income protection from Kestrel Insurance. A choice of benefits. Simple underwriting and peace of mind with a regular income for up to 2 years if you're unable to work due to illness or injury. Kestrel Insurance is registered with the Isle of Man Financial Services Authority.
Direct cremation is just that, an affordable and simple cremation without all the costs associated with a funeral service. Find out more by visiting directcremation.im or phone Direct Cremations on 478 422.
You're listening to Update here on Manx Radio FM, 7.5 minutes past 5. So as we just heard, Storm Dara is set to create some problems on the island from this evening onwards. That yellow weather warning is already in place for heavy rain. An amber alert is on the way in the early hours of tomorrow morning. Christian is with me now. Christian, we had a little bit from Colin there, but what is the other advice that's being given to the public?
Well, Civil Defence says it's been busy planning for the storm. So multi-agency teams have been involved in briefings with Ronaldsway Met Office. And that's to ensure that the right preparations are in place. It's asking people to do their best to check their properties now before the worst of the weather hits. So that's things like securing property bins, garden furniture, tie-down trampolines, for example. Additionally, Manx Utilities says its team will be on hand to ensure the sage restoration of electricity supplies in the case of disruption. It's advising people to keep their phones charged and have a torch at the ready. So if you come across any downed power lines, then don't approach them. Call 687 687 when it's safe and legal to do so. And of course, if the power goes out, keep your freezer shut.
Now, we just heard from Lewis that tonight's sailing to Heysham has been cancelled. People are being urged to look out for their neighbours too in case they need assistance. What about other travel disruption that we're expecting?
Yeah, so we are expecting that to be disrupted too in the air, the sea, roads. The Isle of Man Constabulary has pledged to keep people up to date with any issues on the roads via their social media pages. Everyone is being reminded to drive to the conditions. The strength of the wind forecast is likely to lead to fallen branches, possibly downed trees, possible structural damage with flying debris, standing water.
And obviously we're getting that mix of the rain tonight, the winds tomorrow. There will be people who are worrying about flooding in their properties. Can they get their hands on sandbags if they need them?
Yep, they can. They'll be available from the amenity sites and from Civil Defence headquarters in Tramode. You can also get them from Craigmallin car park in Peel, Laxey Promenade, the fire station / the Tesco car park in Ramsey, Strathallan in Douglas, also the Barbary Coast in Douglas, but they are asking to only take what you need.
And we understand already there are problems with the post as well.
There is. The Isle of Man Post Office says outbound mail collected and processed yesterday for dispatch today did not connect in the UK. That means it won't join up with the Royal Mail network until Monday and won't be delivered until at least Tuesday. All time guarantees for special delivery services have now been suspended until further notice because of the UK network disruption. Saturday collections from post boxes and post offices on the island won't be going ahead either. Additionally, no mail has arrived on the island today, so there won't be any deliveries tomorrow. If you're waiting for a parcel from EVRI, you might be waiting until early next week, so that we understand that a number of the delivery drivers have also been told not to expect anything until Tuesday.
But as we heard from Colin, hopefully we're going to be in a very different condition by Tuesday. Christian, thank you very much indeed. And as ever, do stay tuned to Manx Radio for the very latest and online as well. We'll have a post with all the details for you on the Manx Radio website, and that'll also be pinned to the top of the Manx Radio Facebook page. It's just gone 5:10. Now, you may recall that yesterday on Update, we brought you the details of a significant sentencing that had taken place at Douglas Courthouse. 3 men, described in court as animals, were jailed for a collective total of more than 46 years after raping a teenage girl. News editor Tessa Hawley is with me again now in the studio. And Tessa, this really was a particularly distressing case. What has the police said about this today?
Yes, so as we said in Update last night, these were some significant sentences handed down from the Isle of Man Courts of Justice. There were a number of police officers in the court yesterday to see James Doherty, Stephen Cannon and Graham Skillicorn jailed. Now, as a reminder, they attacked an 18-year-old girl at a property in Annika in the early hours of the 25th of June back in 2022. And now the police have commended the victim for reporting the matter to them and having the courage to stand up in court and give her evidence at trial in the presence of those responsible. The constabulary has also thanked the Attorney General's Chambers and Victim Support Isle of Man.
And do they have any advice for other victims of these types of crime?
They do. They say they understand that being the victim of any form of sexual offence is extremely traumatic and upsetting, and it takes courage to report such matters. They have specialist officers from the Protecting Vulnerable People Safeguarding and Investigations team who are available to speak to anyone who wishes to report any sexual offence. And police say those officers will be able to offer support, guidance and advice to victims, and that's throughout any police investigation.
Let's just remind people then how they get in touch with the constabulary.
So obviously in an emergency situation you can call 999 or you can contact the main police headquarters number on 631 212. Now, officers say they know how difficult it can be to talk about experiences like this, but have pledged to listen to you, treat you with respect and never make any judgment about lifestyle. And you can also find a number of other organisations which can offer support and guidance at manxradio.com.
Tessa, thank you very much indeed. It's 5:13. You're listening to Update here on Manx Radio FM. The appearance of the UK Prime Minister at the latest British-Irish Council meeting in Edinburgh is a refreshing change. It's the view of Chief Minister Alfred Cannon, who spoke earlier to us from the summit. Now, the main talking point of the gathering has been the move towards renewable energy. Mr Cannon told Simon Richardson he was able to speak directly with his UK counterpart, Sir Keir Starmer.
We did. We spent about 20 minutes with him first thing this morning, gave all 3 Crown dependencies the opportunity to highlight how we can be positive partners with the United Kingdom and the British Isles as Prime Minister sets out his own hopes for the British economy. We highlighted very much the role we play in terms of foreign direct investment. In fact, the UK figures now show that between all the Crown dependencies, the foreign direct investment coming through the Crown dependencies into the Isle of Man is about 12% of all foreign direct investment. So it's a significant amount. Clearly highlight trading partnership that we have in other areas. And thirdly, of course, particularly for the Isle of Man, was the capabilities that we have to play a role in meeting the UK's energy targets, particularly when it comes to offshore renewable energy.
What have been the main talking points on the main agenda?
They do set a specific subject matter for everybody to discuss and to learn from and to highlight both challenges and opportunities. Been very much the theme of this has been about renewable energy. A lot of the focus has been about the just transition in terms of making sure that people are brought on the journey and no one is left behind. But fundamentally, really it's been about exploring how and where those opportunities exist. And for the Isle of Man, I was able to ask and talk to the Prime Minister about the need for us, particularly with Ørsted plans for the Morvannon farm, for us to be included within the CFD rounds, the pricing rounds that they are holding for UK energy. If we're going to make it work, we really do need a route to market, and having access into the UK grid will be critical for success. The potential to play a key role in this, both in terms for the development of our own renewable energy, but also to look for other potential economic opportunities, both from our geographical location and also because of the investment opportunities that we can perhaps access from foreign capital that may be able to be directed. So there's a lot to understand, a lot to explore, but we're very firmly in the picture when it comes to renewables, and of course the development of those renewables on both sides of our island, in terms of the island of Ireland, and of course in the UK, and Wales and Scotland as well. So there's a lot to understand, but also a lot of opportunity within that.
That is Chief Minister Alfred Cannon talking to Simon there from the British-Irish Council meeting in Edinburgh.
Manx Radio Travel, driven by Quayside Tyres and Service Centre.
Well, as I've been hearing, it is raining already. That yellow weather warning suggested there might be big pools of water, so if you're driving home, just take care if you're out and about. We haven't heard about any other specific issues, which is good. The main issues are travel-wise for the steam packet. Tonight's sailings to Heysham have been cancelled. Tomorrow morning's as well is not going ahead. Down at the airport, not too bad. There was just an earlier cancellation of the London City flight, but other than that, everything looks pretty good down there. As ever, though, if you spot anything when you're out and about, or as I say, if you want to let us know about an event that is not or is going ahead, then please feel free to do so. 166 177. You can email studio@manxradio.com. The tractors are going tonight, so if you're planning to go out and see them, then that's good news.
Ask how you can spread the cost interest-free at Quayside.
Well, let's stay on the theme of weather and how you drive if you have to go out and about this weekend. We know there are going to be winds of possibly between 80 and 85 miles an hour. That storm force wind amber weather warnings coming in from 3 a.m. tomorrow morning. Chris Smith is the police's road safety manager. He's got this advice if you are planning to drive anywhere this weekend.
Make sure the vehicle's roadworthy, so make sure that all your lights are working, windscreen wipers, particularly with the heavy rain that we've had, so that it clears the windscreen. Just make sure that the tyres are above the legal tread depth. And when the constabulary put a message out for people not to drive because of the conditions, please adhere to it, because we don't want anyone putting themselves at risk, and drive to the conditions. In wet conditions, braking distances is at least doubled. So watch your speed and make sure that you keep enough distance from the vehicle in front as well. And it's about that. It's about keeping people safe. If we put the message out not to travel because of the risk of the weather, it's the message that we want people to take up and not to ignore, because it puts themselves and other people at risk. Because if you get caught in floods or if you get caught in other circumstances, somebody has to go out and get you, and it's usually the police that have to do that.
And we saw it the other week when we had the icy weather as well, that actually as well sometimes it can be an issue of the number of resources available.
And that's one of the reasons why the message goes out to people not to drive unless it's absolutely necessary, because the emergency services, so the constabulary, the fire and rescue service, the ambulance service, are always really busy this time of year, and if you go out on a needless journey, you could get yourself involved in an accident. So that's why we try and get people to stay at home when the conditions are poor.
That's the police road safety manager, Chris Smith, talking to Amy there. It's 5:18. Now, there's concern in England about a significant rise in the number of patients admitted to hospital with the flu compared to this time last year. A 352% rise, to be exact. Well, Lewis has been catching up with Dr. Ross Keat. He's the consultant and Deputy Director of Public Health Isle of Man, about how the island is faring.
I would say that a likely reason for the increase at this time of year is due to the fact that vaccination rates in the UK, current data indicates that they're down, so from about 77% to 71%. And also the current vaccine programme this year doesn't include those aged 50 to 65. So in general, there are fewer people vaccinated as a result. We haven't seen a similar trend here, but obviously we're keeping a really close eye on how things progress in touch with our colleagues at Nobles Hospital looking for an increase in cases, and those working in primary care as well, so our GP partners. We're not seeing anything similar at this particular point in time. The best thing that people can do in order to try and prevent any stresses on the healthcare system over here or being unwell is to check on the Isle of Man Public Health website to see if you're eligible for vaccination. And if you are eligible, to contact your GP practice or the vaccination hub, depending on your eligibility, and get a vaccine, because that is the simplest and most effective way to reduce your risk of influenza infection this season. But it's also important to keep up healthy behaviours to reduce the spread of any respiratory illnesses like flu, but also that includes COVID, respiratory syncytial virus, and indeed other seasonal illnesses like norovirus. Respiratory etiquette. So if you're coughing, sneezing, making sure you're catching that in a hanky or in the crook of your arm. If you do feel unwell, try and stay away from the workplace or school to not spread it to other people. And then other things like washing your hands regularly for 20 seconds, after you've used the bathroom. These sort of simple things that you can do to reduce the potential spread of viruses at this time of year is really important.
Many people have seen on the front of various newspapers this morning this term quaddemic. What exactly is meant by that?
I suppose that's referring to the fact that we have 4 seasonal illnesses which are currently circulating in relatively high numbers in the UK. So that includes influenza, respiratory syncytial virus or RSV, norovirus and COVID-19. Now, a lot of the messaging around respiratory etiquette, like I touched on before, that is common across all of these illnesses. But of course, 3 of these will have groups of individuals who can go and have vaccinations. So that's flu, RSV and COVID. So by getting vaccinated, practicing good hygiene and staying informed, we can all act together as a community and support our healthcare system during what is always a challenging period for the healthcare system.
That is Dr. Ross Keat. He's the Consultant and Deputy Director of Public Health Isle of Man. Respiratory etiquette, I think, is one of the best phrases I've heard today. He was talking to Lewis there about that rise in the number of patients being admitted to hospital with the flu in the UK compared to this time last year. 21 minutes past 5 now. After years of grafting and working his way through the ranks in the boxing world, Matthew Rennie is just one fight away from potentially achieving national glory. He faces Sean Noakes at Wembley Arena tomorrow night for the English welterweight title. The unbeaten Manxman explains what it would mean to him to taste victory this weekend.
I've been dreaming this moment since I was a little kid. When I was 8 years old or even younger, I already envisioned me becoming a professional boxer and winning titles, and this is like a dream come true, but it's one that I don't want it to just, escape me. I want to take it all in and make sure that I win that title and then go on to bigger things. This is it's a massive step up, but as I said, the rewards that can come from this, there's a lot to fight for on Saturday night. I moved over when I was about 18, I think, and I just left with a car and a blow-up bed, and that's all I had. So, I've came a long way since then, and I've chased a dream, and now it's in touching distance. I think timing is everything in boxing, and this has come at the right time. I think I've done everything I've needed to do to get, I deserve this shot at the title. It's not like I've just been given it. I've worked for it, and then I've also been working hard in training. I've not cut no corners, and I'll be ready to go on Saturday night. As you've taken it all in, not let it get to my head, and not let it overwhelm me. Just take it in, enjoy it, and make sure that I'm focused on the performance rather than the other things. And it can be hard to do. I can imagine it's all going to be new to me walking out in this big stage, but it's one of them. It's got to be done at this level. This is the big time now.
Just quite simply, what would it mean to you to secure that title?
Well, it'd be 20 years of blood, sweat and tears to get to this point, and not just to get to this point, but to win it. So you can imagine achieving a childhood dream. It's all I've ever wanted. So I'm gonna leave everything in that ring on Saturday night and make sure that I come out victorious. But on paper, it's a good 50-50 fight, but it's one that I truly believe I could win. I wouldn't be going there if I didn't. I wouldn't be in this sport if I didn't think I could win an English title. And like I said, this is a massive stepping stone for bigger things in the future. And Sean's just the person in my way that I need to beat.
That is Matthew Rennie. We wish him all the very best for tomorrow. That fight is going to be part of the Magnificent Seven show being broadcast live tomorrow night on TNT Sports. Will you be watching that, Rob Pritchard?
I hope so.
Yeah, it'd be brilliant, wouldn't it? But let's just wait until tomorrow, see what happens. What's happening sport-wise then? Anything at all?
Well, sport, I think, probably unsurprisingly, is being affected by the impending weather expected this weekend. First of all matches across the Isle of Man football leagues tomorrow have been postponed. The decision came from the Isle of Man FA ahead of the forecast poor weather over the next couple of days. The cancellations apply to the 2 semi-final ties in this year's Railway Cup competition, as well as games across the Men's Premier League, Division 2, Combination 1 and Combination 2. All of the ties will be rearranged in due course. You can see a full list of all the affected matches tomorrow at manxradio.com. Elsewhere, we await further details on matches due to be played on Sunday, as a decision on those hasn't yet been made. That day, there are currently due to be 4 divisional matches across the Canada Life Women's Floodlit Cup, the 7-a-side format, as well as 3 matches in the Masters League. Elsewhere, the conclusion to the 2024 indoor hockey season on Ireland is due to be held in the Manx capital this weekend. 6 matches will be held at the NSC Sports Hall in Douglas from 10 a.m. until 4 p.m. tomorrow. An inter-club derby kicks things off in the mixed premiership as Vikings A take on Vikings B before a battle of the B teams in mixed Division 1 between Bacchus B and Harlequins B. The showdown for the men's premiership follows those as Vikings A face off against Valkyries A, with men's Division 1, up straight after with Vikings B versus Bacchus B. And then the women's leagues round off the schedule in the afternoon. Valkyries A and Castletown A will battle it out for the women's premiership before the final match of the day is the ladies Division 1 duel between Castletown B and Bacchus B. Fixtures could be subject to change depending on conditions around the NSC and across the island tomorrow. Meanwhile, we do still have a couple of scheduled rugby matches for Manx sides penned in tomorrow. Douglas are still searching for their first away win of the latest Regional 2 North West season as they prepare for a trip to Winnington Park. The game is on as it stands following a pitch inspection, but it is all dependent on flights in and out of the island tomorrow morning. It's the same story for Vagabonds. They're rooted to the bottom of Counties 3 ADM Lancashire Cheshire. They're due to host Duckenfield at Ballafletcher on Saturday afternoon. Again, all dependent on flights in and out of the island tomorrow. 2 rugby matches have been called off, the most recent of those in the last hour or so. The Manx Shield game between Western Vikings and Southern Nomads, that's off due to a waterlogged pitch at QE2 in Peel. And also in the Under-16 Cheshire Cup, Southern Nomads Under-16s tie at Chester Under-16s has also been postponed.
Thank you very much indeed, Rob. Well, do remember, ahead of a pretty awful weekend weather-wise, we are your perfect bad weather companion. You can let us know about any events that aren't taking place. Let us know about what's happening in your area. So do keep in touch with us over the weekend. That is all from Update this evening. Do stay tuned to Manx Radio tonight. Rob's here with the Friday Sport Preview in a couple of minutes. If there's nothing really to preview, he's brought his banjo. Chris Kinley will be here from 6:30 with Greatest Hits. At 9, it's Sweet and Swing with H before we roll back the clock from 10 p.m. with Nick Holt and the 90s playlist. Whatever you're doing this weekend, do stay safe. Maybe get a lot of that Christmas wrapping done if you can. And as I say, do stay tuned to Manx Radio. We'll have all the details on air and online. So have a great weekend. We'll talk to you again on Monday.